So we're on to Friday, and again, after another selection of really strong short films, we're kicking off in the Town Hall Theatre with two really strong documentaries, which couldn't be more different, but really show the wealth of documentary talent in Ireland. First up is The Farthest by Emer Reynolds, which surprisingly one of the funniest films I've seen this year. It's a documentary about the Voyager space probe, but it's just done with such warmth and humanity, and about the kind of good grace that humanity can be in reaching out to the universe. It is actually unusual to see an Irish filmmaker making a film that has nothing to do with Ireland. She's just someone with a huge range of interests and is really able to capture it for an audience as well, and just an incredible filmmaker. Moving on to something on another end of the spectrum is Condemned to Remember by Gerry Gregg, about Tomi Reichental, who's an Irish Holocaust survivor. Tomi goes through Europe, as we've seen in the news recently, Europe in something of a crisis at the moment. And he finds himself in places like Srebrenica, looking at atrocities that are much closer in living memory than a lot of people will think, as well as looking at what he calls the new Jews in terms of the current refugee crisis. And it's just absolutely fascinating to see this world through the eyes of someone who survived something like that. But the documentary really captures, I suppose, some of the dangers we're very near to letting happen again. Next up, 8 o'clock in the Town Hall Theatre, we have Michael Inside by Frank Berry. Frank's made a prison movie, essentially, but he's done it in conjunction with Pathways, which is a post-prison group, and it's incredibly real. It's almost like one of those cautionary tales where someone is, they do something silly, it's a mistake, and they end up in prison. It really starts exploring things about, is it prison that criminalises people, how that can make things worse, and then the stakes and what happens to the people left behind outside. Another one I'm really excited about, it's called God's Own Country by a director called Francis Lee. Now, this has been advertised in a lot of places and described and reviewed as a British Brokeback Mountain, but better, and that's absolutely correct. It's the love story between a boy who works in the farm and then this worker who comes in. He's a Romanian lad, but it's got a nice immigrant angle on that as well.